Thank you for tuning in to TTV. I'm your host, Toya. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about past life regression and past lives. So instead of looking at me, I'm still out here. So I figured you guys would much rather look at this view than look at me. There's actually a swan across the lake. Let's see if I can zoom in. Where are you? It's still there. There it is. There it is. You see that? So I figured y'all would like to look at this a lot more than me. And so the water can help. Sadie, come here. Come. So let's start off talking about time. Okay, I'm gonna start off with time and energy, but right now we're gonna first start out with talking about time. So I know you guys have heard time is linear, time is infinite, time is a lot of different things. So I'm gonna give you guys a background on time. And this is according to nothing that I read. Come over here. Nothing that I read, nothing nobody told me. This is just what spiritually I was told and what I was shown time and time again. Because time actually has a way of affecting us in our present and where we are right now in this present day. So if you think about it, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when you had to use graph paper in school. For those of you who are too young for that, showing my age, I know. It's basically a piece of paper that has all these different little blocks on it, little squares. And each one of those squares is blank, and we used to use that to draw graphs and stuff like that on the y-axis, x-axis, that kind of thing back in math. Well, if you think about that piece of graph paper, because there's like all these hundreds of little boxes on this graph paper, that's kind of like what time is. So it goes in all different directions, and each one of those little boxes represent a different moment in time. So if you think about it from the horizon, so from left to right, that is more so along the lines of where you are in your existence. And then you have those that they call the mirror worlds. I'm sure you guys have heard about that. They talk about it now in movies. But that's where your mirror worlds come out into play. And then if you think about it with the vertical up and down, that is more like the different dimensions and things that you would experience life in from different dimensions. Okay, and that's just a basic way of thinking about it. So all those different lives that we have sometimes affect us in this life. So if we're depressed or we're uber excited or anxious and there's nothing in our present life that we can think of to make us feel that way, then a lot of times it comes from one of those other times where you are present. And that's the energy that you're feeling from that time, from that present. I know that sounds a lot complicated and it might sound crazy. And if this isn't something you believe, then by all means, turn this off and go to something else. But if you're interested and you want to know more, then continue to listen. So, like I said, that is just a kind of a glimpse of time. You also have it to where you see your past and your future. So all of that is all happening at one time. It's not something that's separate. It's all happening at one time. The day you were born, the day you die, and the day you're listening to this video are all happening simultaneously at the same time. They're not different occurrences, not different time frames, not different places. It's all at one time, one moment. Just like this one. And sometimes that can affect you as well and affect how we see things, how we feel about stuff, how we process it and internalize it. Because again, it's not something that happened so long ago or so far into the future. It's all happening right now. And some people can actually learn how to tune into that and see glimpses of things that happen to them in the future, or actually use that in meditating as a way of manifestation. Because again, if it's all happening at the same time and it's all happening to you and it's all connected, then you have a connection to it as well. Look at that sun. Y'all see that sun? Anyway, So you have all of that happening at the same time, same moment. If I sound a little distracted, I am, because I got her. People are walking on this trail behind me. See? So I'm trying to make sure she's cool too. Yeah, so that's time. Now we get into energy. Now, energy never ends. It never dies. It never goes away. It just transforms. It just moves from one place to another place. That's all it does. So that you may feel like you're lacking energy, and it's just the type of energy that you really have. Get your nose out of there. Leave it. Good girl. It's just the type of energy that you have that you're lacking. But you're never lacking energy, because the moment you lack energy or have no energy, you'll be dead. You'll no longer exist in this form. But energy has a way of carrying and staying with you, even from back in the past to the future. Come on back over here. From the past to the future to your present. And again, even your past lives, they have residual energy left in you when you're born in here. So you may not remember on a conscious level, but subconsciously you do remember. And sometimes you may have even gotten glimpses of it or had dreams about those past lives and not even realize that's what it was. Try to see if I can lock her in place. Sorry, y'all, because she's distracted. Okay, so like I said, you may have energy that's left over, past energy. That's residual from your previous life that you have on a subconscious level, not even something that you're conscious about it. And I'll give you an example. I actually remember my last life. Not the whole life from beginning to end, but I do remember pieces of it. I remember I was a slave. I believe I was in the state of Georgia. And I remember being taken as a little girl. I was probably about 7 or 8. Taken from my mother and sold to a man. And the man that I was sold to was one of those who did research on the mating behaviors and patterns of the slaves or the heathens, because they didn't see black people as people. They were objects, property. We were the heathens. And so that's what he studied, was the mating patterns of the heathens. And so what he would do is he would bring in about 4 or 5 men into a room, all chained together, bound by the feet, the neck, and then their hands were bound. I was responsible for bringing him in his tray. So he had his smoke, he had his tea, he had his whiskey, whatever it was that he wanted. It was what I brought in. And I would set the tray down and turn around and walk out of the room. Now, that was my life. That was what I did. I was scared. I just didn't want to be seen. I didn't want anybody to notice me. I didn't want anybody to recognize me. I didn't want anybody to even see me. And what happened is because when it's something that we concentrate on, you manifest it. So because I concentrated so hard on being invisible and not seen, because I was scared, because when you're seen, things happen. When you're noticed, things happen. And so I'm telling y'all this for a reason. So with that being said, you manifest stuff. And so I manifested being seen. I manifested being noticed. So one day I went in there to take my master his tray, and I sat it down and was walking out of the room when he noticed that one of the men chained up is what we would call special or special needs kind of guy. He noticed me, and my owner saw the desire for him in me as I walked out the room. So the next day when I came in here to bring the tray and set the tray down, instead of them bringing some other woman that they found from one of the other plantations, and I'm assuming it was a breeding plantation that the women usually came from, instead of using one of those women, he put me down there I was tied. Some men grabbed me, tied me down to the bed, stripped my clothes off, unchained this man, and allowed him to do as he pleased to me. And that was something I relived in this life. And so as a kid growing up, I tried to do what I could to not be seen. I tried to do what I could to be invisible and in the shadows. And it worked, because that was one of the issues I had with my family, is nobody listened to me. You know, I felt invisible as a child. I remember we had a minivan, and I remember I would always get in and just sit in the back and just stare out the window and just listen to the conversation that my dad, my mom, and my sister had, because I felt like I wasn't a part of it. And even if they tried to bring me in, before I could even answer a question or make a comment, they were all back to talking to each other without even waiting for me to say anything. And that was a manifestation that I did from a previous life, from the energy from my previous life, that was carried over into this life. And so that was one of the things that was affected. Not only did I not want to be seen by just, you know, in the family sense, but I also didn't want to be seen by other people. And I think that's one of the reasons that for so long I've been overweight, because most people who are overweight are not seen. Nobody sees them unless they make themselves seen, like they fall or they're eating a large portion of food, or they do something to make themselves seen. And despite that was never one that actually ever worked, because I was still seen, I was still talked to, I was still sought out. So it didn't help any. But, you know, still I tried. Because again, it was residual that was left over from a previous life. That carried over into this life. It had its effect on me. Just waiting on the wind to slow down, y'all, because I know y'all hear it. It's so beautiful right here. Hello. Whew. So that was my previous life, or one of them anyway. As far as the ones I know, I think it's 5 altogether that I remember. And I don't remember from beginning to end. I just remember pieces of it. I remember the feeling from that life. I remember, like the past life, for example, being scared all the time, always being afraid, always trying to go, you know, under the radar and not be seen, not be noticed. That's what I remember about that life. Also the humiliation and the feeling that, you know, I had no control over myself, my body, my life. I just had no control whatsoever. And that was the residual that carried over into this life. And I say residual because it's the energy that you hold with you. You know, so even if you don't remember, your soul remembers. That energy that energizes your body remembers and knows what that was like, remembers what that was like. And if it's something that you're interested in doing, something that you want to do is find out who you used to be, then by all means, I really support that, and I really suggest that you do that, because you can find how all of that affects you in this life today. I had another life where I was a general in an Asian army, and you know, what did they carry? They carried katanas. And what do I have a love for in this life? Katanas. It's actually one of the things I collect, which are like the Japanese swords. And I love them in this life, and I carry them, I collect them in this life. So again, that was a positive something not carried over from one life into another. So it's not always something negative. You know, in this life, I've always wanted to go to Ireland, and I had no reason I couldn't even tell you why until I realized that of the lives that I can remember, that was the one I was the most happiest. That was the one that was the most peaceful. Even though there was some trauma that happened in that life, it was still the best life that I can remember. And I can remember 5 of them all together, but I know there were more, because even sometimes if you've ever watched like a documentary or something, even if you watch a documentary or something, you might see something. I'm gonna have to quit this because my battery just showed low. but you may see something that triggers like your memory. Like, why do I know this? It might seem like deja vu to you, but it's actually something that you remember from a past life. So for example, I remember watching this documentary on different places where they had turned these unique places into bed and breakfasts in the Europe culture, in Europe continent. Sorry, I'm trying to hurry up. And I remember they were driving down this road, going to this one, talking about, you can't believe what they did with this place. And I remember turning around, I said, I remember this. I don't know why, but I remember this. And when they come around this corner, it's going to be a red barn. And as they came around the corner, there was a red barn. And that it was that barn that they turned into a bed and breakfast. So when you have things like that happen and you don't have any reason, she always whining, y'all. You don't have any reason for remembering it, or no reason or even knowledge of why you know it, or why it seems like a deja vu type of moment. It's probably because it's something that you did experience, just not in this lifetime. So I'm gonna leave it here because this is getting kind of long, and my battery is low now. So I gotta go charge it. But if you got anything out of this, please like, subscribe, and share. No, I do not do past life regression. I just asked about it. I'll see if I can find a video on it that I watched one time. It's a lady that does it. I'll see if I can find it. If I can, I'll put it in the link below. If not, just Google it. Do a YouTube search on it, because there is a lady, I can't remember. She was a white lady with short black hair. I know she does it, and there's some other people that do past life regression. I'm just not one of them. I just asked my guides and my guardians and my ancestors to tell me who I used to be, and that's how the stuff came to me. So, but I love you guys. I hope you got something out of this. Again, if you did, please share, because there are other people who are interested in this stuff as well and need to know it. But I love you guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.